Hi everyone, it's Kathleen. I'm here today to do a very brief update on my vintage textile collage on wool blanket. I have invisible stitched the main doily bits that I laid on in the last video. They're all invisible stitched that I will be adding other stitch on. Well, it's kind of invisible. I'm not going to take that stitching out. It's going to stay here. So what I've done is I have taken parts of that luncheon cloth, which is a small tablecloth that was embroidered, and I cut out some of the patterns. So the larger motifs are in each corner. I cut squares, so one in there, one at the top, and you can see how it's extending past the tablecloth. Okay, so I started with that. Then I had these hexagons that were already sewn together, and they're empty underneath. They were pre-done. They weren't done by me. They were done by someone else. I had two of this color of fabric, the batik fabric. So I'm placing one at the bottom of the quilt with a feed sack Suffolk puff or yo-yo. So a square on the bottom. That's the second hexagon, Grandma's Flower Garden, I think it might be called, and a Suffolk puff. And another one, it's an orangey batik fabric. And I'm going to invisible stitch all the way around these items. So this bottom left corner of the blanket, I have this little motif, embroidered motif, two flower gardens, two Suffolk puffs. So I work in threes. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So the corner has this motif as well. So this pineapple doily with a cotton bit in the center, I cut the doily in half. One goes at the bottom right-hand corner of the blanket. The other half goes to the top left-hand corner, so in opposites. So each of the corners of the blanket will have that embroidered piece. Then, so I have to tack that on and tack this on before I continue. So I'm tacking my things and my doily bits on before I can continue. So my dog was running around all over this, so I pinned them on, and I'm going to come back and show you the more I add. Half doily crocheted, and this time it's opposite. Bottom left, top right. And that's what this is over here. So you have a collage of an extension and then touching here, and this will be tacked so it's touching, because this will all be embellished with stitch later on. Okay, and I showed you the 1, 2, 3, 4 corners at the top of the blanket. I have my favorite doily piece here, but I had half of this precious piece that I wanted to display here. This is vintage cotton, and it's looped crocheted all the way around. I'm going to tack that on so it looks like a sun at the top. At the bottom is another piece that I only have half of, and I'm going to have this one at the bottom, coming out from this doily, and it'll be tacked on flat because the dog jumped all over it. That's why it's all crazy. And beautiful extending, and again stitching. There'll be stitching everywhere, stitching, blending this together. So that's the bottom, left bottom, center bottom, right bottom. At the top, right top, right center, and left top. The other thing I did was add on to the center focal point. This doily is absolutely stunning. So I had the remaining 6 Suffolk puffs. So I put 3 at the bottom. There was a little bit of holes, like space, you can see here underneath, that I needed to cover up. So that's covering up that space. And there's also a little space, and I tend to work in like opposites, diagonals. So there's space here I wanted to cover up. So I work in just little bits. So some people find collaging overwhelming. Well, this is how it's not overwhelming. Add a few pieces, and then you work from there. You can't plan the whole thing out in one sitting. You just can't. So I added the 6 Suffolk puffs opposites, and this was a stitching piece that I've done a while ago. This is done on a vintage pajamas or night dress or whatever you want to call it, and I've used some old, out of breath, eyelet trim, white eyelet trim, and this is coffee dyed Battenberg. And then I have done embroidery with ribbon. What is that? With ribbon and fabric triangles and parts of doilies, and I did fancy stitching. So I'm going to do those kind of flowers throughout my blanket. So there'll be a special video on that when I do it. So that's all I have for you today. I'm going to invisible stitch these corners, bottom, center, top, center, and this one. So I'll stand back. Wow, I don't know why I'm out of breath. Okay, I can't give you the whole thing. I can't video the whole blanket. All right. Thank you everyone for watching. Bye for now.